Okay, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to Google Partners 11's series. This morning, we're going to talk about mobile, and in particular, the need for speed, why it's necessary, and how you can fix it. My name is Connor. I work on the agency sales team, and I'm a mobile specialist here in Dublin. And today, I'm joined by Connor.
My name's also Connor, and I'm a mobile product expert who works with direct clients in the UK market.
Okay, so let's get started then. So let's look at it in real terms. Okay, so think about your own level of patience. Would you be willing to wait in this line? If you were busy, for example, I know for me personally, if I was busy, feel like I was wasting time. You know, I think I don't have time for this I don't have time for this now, maybe later. And as technologies improve, we have even higher expectations of speed. I mean, how many people have been waiting to do something like, you know, ring a store and be get put on a waiting line or wait in a restaurant? You don't have time for these things anymore, and it's important that your mobile site speed reflects that and ensure that your site is responsive as possible when people are looking for what they're looking for. Okay, so Google have reacted to this, and now the mobile site speed is just as important as the website content for the organic search listing results. The sole purpose of Google existing is to provide users with the most relevant information when and where they want it. So make sure that mobile site speed is at the top of every single conversation you're having in terms of your digital marketing strategy in 2017. Now, we're talking a lot about patience here, and it's true that 53% of users will leave a site if nothing happens for 3 seconds. They assume there's something wrong with it and they drop it. There's something fundamentally wrong if they just get a white, plain screen over the, in the first 3 seconds, and 53% will leave. Mobile users at the end of the day are on the go and may not have access to strong internet connection. Load times are one of the most important factors in maintaining engagement and continuing interaction through to purchase. In fact, we've seen this figure increase from 40% in the past few months. As 4G proliferates and phones get better, people's expectations of mobile site speed grow in line with that. So we've talked about the magical 3-second rule. So if nothing happens for the first 3 seconds, 53% of people will leave. But after this 3 seconds, what is the impact of a further 1 second delay on the behavior of the user on the site? Well, from our data, we can say that a 1 second delay will increase the bounce rate by 8.3%, will decrease conversion rates by 3.5%, and will decrease page views by 9.4%. These are absolutely massive figures. And when Connor talks you through all the ways that you can actually make changes to your mobile site speed, we're going to talk through some of the things that you're going to look into. And your Google Analytics page is a massive part of that. And it'll show you all of these impacts between desktop and mobile. I need to understand these in order to really make the improvements moving forward. So we talked about why it's important for the consumer. How does it impact the consumer? What happens to the consumer when he or she gets to a site and it doesn't load properly? What happens? Well, they tend to leave, or they tend to not act as you would like them to go on and make a purchase. But what's the impact for your clients and for you as agencies? Well, if you look at this, improving mobile site speed has a positive impact on a number of aspects of how your business works. First of all, if you take this example of improving a site from 15 seconds to 2 seconds, on average, there is an incremental improvement of 30% in terms of conversions. Now, as Connor's going to allude to later on, it's not about being hell-bent on changing that from 15 seconds to 2 seconds, but more importantly, every small change makes a big impact on your conversion rate. So as you can see here, the move from 15 seconds to 7 seconds can improve your conversion rate by 24%. And then after that, there are smaller, but still incremental improvements. Absolutely. So how does this then relate to the advertiser? Well, if you've paid for all these people to get to your website through paid PPC advertising, and the conversion rate is going to increase, then naturally that's going to impact your CPA. So for the advertiser, it's going to improve their CPA by reducing load time on the mobile site. And how does this then reflect on the improvement for your bottom line as an agency? Well, first of all, your return on investment. If you've been discussing with your clients, about a certain amount of money to go in and then a certain amount of money to come out from that advertising, this is going to fundamentally improve that. Second of all, the billable hours. If you know that you've put the same amount of time into a certain digital marketing strategy, and we're going to be able to improve the conversion rates on the site, then that means that you as an agency are going to have more time to look at different parts of the strategy to improve that strategy further and ensure that you get that competitive edge in 2017. So if we look at this kind of case study here, as I've said previously, it's not just about going from 15 seconds to 2 seconds. It's about finding that sweet spot for the particular advertiser to ensure that you are incrementally improving those. Sorry, here we go. To incrementally improve those conversion rates. So as we can see, mobile pages that load 1% or 1 second faster see up to a 27% increase in mobile conversion rates. Here's one example of how a change in load time impacted the bounce rates and the conversion rates. This is a case study from the Soasta, which is a pretty serious web performance testing firm. And they found the results in this page. And what I'm interested in is going from 6 or 7 seconds down to 2 seconds. That would get us a 210% increase in the mobile conversion rate. And as it gets worse, while conversion rate somewhat plateaus around 6 or 7 seconds, bounce rate only increases from there. So it's really important to use the data that you have in Google Analytics, use the information that Connor's going to go through into understanding all of this, and then making the improvements therein with your front-end developers or with the end clients. Now, imagine if we're to take that case study and we're going to layer on some data and some revenue behind that. So if, for example, we take the assumption of there's a $123 average order value, and this site has a monthly unique visitor of 142,000, and they have a conversion rate of 1.5%. Let's see how this plays out when you plug in this data. So let's say you're an e-commerce company, and your site loads it on 3G at 15 seconds. Now, your average order value, the number of users that come to your site, are the assumptions that we've mentioned. Keeping all the same, if you move from 15 to 5 seconds, that would be an extra 3.48 million per second. Sorry, 3.48 million per year, and that's over 3 seconds. If we move from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, we would see that revenue jump from 3.48 million to 7.55 million. Now, this is the really important thing to look at, because it's all about driving in performance and driving improvement for your clients. So now that we've gone through that, and now we know how important it is in 2017, I think we're all agreed that it's the most pertinent weapon for all of you in terms of getting your competitive edge in 2017. Connor's going to talk through, the other Connor, he's going to talk through how to make those small changes that are going to make a big difference to the mobile site. So over to you, Connor.
Cheers, Connor. So yeah, so like I guess we start then with what are the main impediments to mobile success? What are the factors that get in the way that slow down your site speed? So first one there, images. About 63% of mobile pages total weight on average consist of images, right? So that's what kind of bogs down and makes the site very heavy. And then when we look at the next biggest factor, fonts. So I know there was already a training run on this, or a presentation on how to improve and eliminate fonts or disable custom fonts, but 50% of mobile pages actually use these. And whilst you think this is great, it's not good for the consumer. It slows down your site. It's not good for the business. And then 20% of pages have over 100 plus requests. So this is huge. I mean, we started off, I think 2011 with over 50 requests. Now it's just more and more requests. So you're just, the site is just getting heavier and heavier, and it's much harder to load, especially if you're not on a good 3G connection. And then you can see the last two there, 20% of pages having redirects. This is not what a mobile user comes to do. They don't want to be redirected. They don't want to see interstitial ads. They don't want to subscribe. They're looking to buy, perhaps. They're looking for a lead, whatever the case may be. And caching is too short. So leveraging your cache browser data, that's very important. Often we find when it's not being leveraged properly, that resources are not stored in kind of the longest possible time they should be. Therefore, you're unnecessarily loading content to a network rather than looking at content could be stored on a local disk, for example. So I'm just going to take you through the quickest wins here. So usual suspect number one, images. So back to what Connor was saying about shaving seconds off your site. What better way than to start looking at what percentage of the content on your site is images? So if I'm saying on average 63% of average pages total weight is of images, What we also need to remark here is we're talking about byte savings. This is a place where we can limit the number of images you're putting on the site. We can use, the vast majority of images on the web are either in the wrong format, because they've just gone from desktop to tablet, or in the wrong size. So they need to be compressed. And there's a link in this presentation on how to do that using smallerpictures.appspot.com. So it's a really straightforward thing you can do for your client. And just the benchmark we're using here as well, that website example of Google Keep, it's showing that we have far too big image sizes there, right? So on average, from the webpagetest.org speed test, we need to see data less than 1 megabyte. Here we have over 3. So you can see the problem there. There's 3 times too much data. So you need to check your file sizes. You need to make sure that they're not too big. So the next suspect then, this is around requests. So when we talk about resource requests, you need to keep these to a minimum, ideally below 100. So in a day where in 2011, we used to have half of sites had over 50. Now we have 20%. So that's 1 in 5 of M sites that people have out there having over 100 resource requests. That's simply too many. And it's causing latency. So latency for major mobile carrier ranges from 300 to 400 milliseconds per request in the UK. And every millisecond counts, so they quickly add up, and that slows down your speed. So latency is a massive performance killer, and each of these requests add complexity to the site in rendering a good load time. So therefore, think increased complexity is giving you a slower load time. Usual suspect number 3. So here we're looking at caching, and this is something I touched upon already. So resources get reloaded needlessly for repeat visitors. So what I mean by cache view is someone has been to the M site already, has already waited in line on that queue, but then you're actually sending signals to the server again to reload content that they'd already seen. Why aren't we storing them for longer than 1 day, 30 days, even a year? You can lengthen, the solution here is to allow your server to cache resources for as long as possible. You don't want that user you paid for just bouncing off your site.
Like someone going up and queuing up for something and then going back to pick it up later and having to queue again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very frustrating. We don't want that at all. I mean, you're not going to get consumers who are prepared to do it. Simple as that. You're not going to be making money. And then the final thing then is usual suspect number 4, which is content that's above the fold, but it's not being prioritized. So again, sticking with our Google Keep example, you need to download first the things that a user would like to see first. So here you can see we're saving your thoughts wherever you go. That's what Google Keep is doing. That's their hero image, and their call to action also needs to be visible. Try Google Keep. That's their call to action. That's what they want a mobile user to do. It's important to prioritize this content when you're looking at, I suppose, the critical rendering path, and otherwise you come up with a problem which is called the hero image delay. And essentially that's primarily due to other resources or scripts and kind of style sheets that are blocking that priority content that a user should see when the site's initially loading. And then, so the resources, what can we do to help? So we've identified a lot of the usual suspects and quickest wins as well, which requires very small amounts of developer time, if we're being honest. So Test My Site and PageSpeed Insights, like these are great resources to use. You can do a quick Google search to find them. And essentially what they do is they include very useful tools that any marketer can use by just simply slotting in their URL of their website, identifying the performance issues that they have. And with only a few hours of development work, you look at areas where you can improve. So there'll be should fix, things you should consider fixing, which are kind of like an amber light, and then areas where you pass, so you're good to go on your site. But essentially these should be passed through to a web developer, a webmaster, and they should know what to do. Webpagetestaswell.org, this is a fantastic resource. Again, something we'd recommend you do, looking specifically at mobile devices. This gives you your page load time. This gives you the content breakdown, what percentage of your site is images, content requests, all the different things that you need to know when you're trying to increase speed. And then finally another external, this is not even a website, this is just right-clicking on your website and inspecting. So if you right-click on your website and inspect it right now, do it now. You can actually check and see for the network. You're obviously going to toggle to a mobile device. For network, you want to be on a good 3G, so you're going to disable the cache view, so it's not a repeat visitor, it's a first-time visit. Tick the box. I mean, you think this is very commonsensical stuff, but you need to make sure that you're doing it, and then test for a good 3G connection, and then hit enter on your URL, and see exactly how your website loads, and see how long it's saying that it takes to load, and see how you can save some time. And the final thing that Connor mentioned very earlier on on is the Google Analytics. What better way than to look at your own data, analyze things like bounce rate, look at conversion rate for mobile, look at, you know, session length, duration, pages that they've gone into on the website, page depth, that kind of thing. Are they viewing the pages even, or are they just not even, they're not even landing and sticking to your site, they're just leaving. Yeah. So these are great indicators and how you can fix. So the final thing then, just around best optimization guidelines, think flow. So FLO, and it's very straightforward. It's a suite of factors that we've covered in today in some detail that developers can control to have an impact on your performance. So think performance over pretty. We start with your first impressions. So avoiding the landing page recs, compressing those images that are just too large in size, prioritizing the above the fold content, downloading that visible content you want to show. And then we moved next to limiting the hits to the web server. So that's kind of, you know, leverage browser caching like we spoke about. And then finally, exploring how to optimize that data by optimizing your content delivery. And that's also where you're looking at minifying resources, looking again at JavaScript, how that's loading, and reducing your server response time. So that brings us up to speed.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so thanks so much for listening. Really, really important in 2017 to ensure that you understand how your mobile is converting, understand how it's performing in relation to your, first of all, your desktop your desktop website, and also in comparison to your peer set, and ensure that you are performing to the best of your ability there. And also, please reach out to your account managers in Google for them to bring you through this, all this information bespoke to your particular client or advertiser as well. Yes. Now, one last thing is just to talk to you about the YouTube Works for Brands.
What's that?
We're excited to announce it. It's a new initiative where you can show off how you've been using YouTube to run highly effective campaigns for your clients. Entries close on the 17th of March, so please get them in. That's next Friday. I'll not be in work on St. Patrick's Day.
I won't be either. My name's Connor too, so we're very Irish.
But please do get your entries in. And share all the brilliant work you've done with your brands on YouTube, and ensure that you get the glory that you deserve. Yeah. Okay, so for one last thing, make sure the 2017, you have the need for speed. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.